Hello everyone, Gaara here and welcome to the very first episode of my second new series, which I like to call Best Designed Hearthstone Cards from a competitive standpoint. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So the very first card I want to talk about and feature in this new series is the Bitter-Tide Hydra. I think this is a very well designed card by Blizzard in many different ways. So first of all, this card has the beast tag, so it is very relevant for all sorts of different things, like the curator for example, or the old beast druid, but especially for hunter. And hunter always went for like a mid-rangey approach when hunter was a competitive deck at least. Also on top of it, hunter was lacking a good 5-drops, and Bitter-Tide Hydra would be perfect for hunter just because, yeah, it fulfills the beast. You can just taunt and buff it with the Houndmaster, enable skill commands, and it fits perfectly into the curve once you go into the Highman on turn 6. So pretty good there. But just in general, the Bitter-Tide Hydra is very good in all sorts of mid-rangey / aggressive decks, because you don't really suffer from the drawback too much. Decks like Zoo, if Zoo wouldn't have the Doom Guards, you would probably play the Bitter-Tide Hydras. But in Pirate Warrior, for example, we see this card being played a lot, and like other aggressive decks. Why is this card so cool? It is a 5 mana 8/8. Everything up to 4 mana is considered early game. So starting from turn 5, it is considered mid game. And having a very powerful mid-game minion for mid-range decks or aggressive decks as like a finisher is, in my opinion, completely fine. And the cool thing is you can punish someone definitely by playing a card like this. For example, Paladin can play an Aldo Peacekeeper on it and then abuse, the drawback and just, kill you more quickly. This card can be abused in many different ways: freeze mages or just burn mages. Mages in general can, freeze your board and ping you repeatedly, so you take a lot of damage from it. It is definitely abusable from a control player perspective, and it's just a very powerful minion. Also, you get punished if you don't play around it. For example, if you waste your removal, if you use your, deadly shots, hard removal in general, like Aldo Peacekeepers, weapons, equalities, whatever, going into turn 5, yeah, like you had an alternative play, you didn't expect a Hydra, you used your removal for something smaller, and then the Hydra comes out and just punishes you because it is a freaking 5 mana 8/8. So overall, very powerful card that gives both players room for abusing strategies or, counterplay. The aggressive player can just hold back on the Hydra, try to bait out your hard removal, and once your removal is gone, you play the Hydra and punish him. And the same goes for the control player. He can save his hard removal and then, gets a tempo swing, because usually the removal for big minions costs less than 5 mana, except now with the BGH that got super heavily nerfed, which is also a 5 mana minion. But in general, like cards like Hex, Sheep, Aldo Peacekeeper, all these cards are slightly cheaper than the Bitter-Tide Hydra, so you can squeeze out something small on top of it, which is definitely a big deal against aggressive decks. Cool card. So what is the problem with this card? Why does not everyone love this card? In general, when a card is well balanced, sees play in Constructed, and you don't really hear too much about it, it's usually a very good card. And there's quite a few of them. And when does this card actually become a problem? Well, the card becomes a problem if you combine it with cards like these here on the right side. Priest, for example, in Silence Priest, you can play the Barnes on 4, pull a Bitter-Tide Hydra, and then play a 0 mana Silence on it, and suddenly you have pretty much a 0 mana 8/8 on your board, and that is not okay. The card costs 5 mana for a reason. Silence Portal is the next one. Dealing 5 damage is already pretty good for the Silence Portal, and getting a random minion that shouldn't be too powerful is also already pretty good. High rolling and getting an 8/8 out is usually pretty busted when you think about it. If you get a Bitter-Tide Hydra from the Silence Portal, because the Bitter-Tide Hydra is definitely worth 5 mana, so you, for additional just 2 more mana, you deal 5 damage to any target you want, so pretty broken. Wait, if you would always play the Bitter-Tide Hydra for 5 mana, that would be nice, but Druid definitely has ways to play around that. If you have 2 copies of Innovate in your hand, you can technically play the Bitter-Tide Hydra on turn 1, and turn 1 is not okay, because that is technically a 1 mana 8/8 then. and that is absolutely not okay. There you can see where the cards on the right, those cards are not good and not healthy for the game, and they are pretty busted, and I will feature some of them in future episodes of my series Worst Designed Hearthstone Cards. This card is, as a standalone, totally fine, and I think the design is excellent. Cards like Volcano absolutely hard counter cards like the Bitter-Tide Hydra. Completely cool card, sees play because it is a good card for aggressive decks. I love the interaction between two players surrounding this card a lot. The cards on the right are, in combination with this card, are absolutely not okay, and this is what makes the Bitter-Tide Hydra busted or even OP. Just to name a few, there's more like Devolve and Evolve as well. Yeah, this is what makes the card pretty stupid. So yeah, that's it for the very first episode of my best designed Hearthstone cards. Just to give you guys a little bit of some insight, some pro insight, why cards are like actually very good designed, but they become broken in combination with other existing bad designed cards. And I think this was a very nice example of that showcase. I really hope you guys enjoyed this very first episode. I will make more of these weekly for sure if you enjoy it, so let me know in the comments as always. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Stay tuned for that and see you guys then. Peace.